Hi, molten salt batteries are an incredibly energy efficient way to store power seasonally. I'm Kingdangerously, this is a time vortex from the 2100s. We're remembering the next 100 years. Researchers at a US Department of Energy lab in the Pacific Northwest have created a hockey puck-sized prototype of a molten salt battery. What is it? It's basically a box filled with very hot salt, a sheet of nickel, a sheet of aluminum, and a sheet of fiberglass with some sulfur thrown in for eggy spice. And what you do is you charge this by pumping electrons into it. Ions flow through the electrolytes, which is this melty salt bit, at this high-ish temperature of 356 degrees Fahrenheit, not exploding any buildings, but quite hot enough for all the salt to be liquid. And then snap, you stop heating it, it cools down to room temperature, and it locks that energy in. It freezes it-ish, solid, but just at standard ambient temperature, basically anywhere in the world ambient temperature, except, right on Mustafarian volcanoes. And then you wait, and when you're ready, you pump the energy back out by heating it up. And the reason you would do this is that there are sources of renewable energy that are quite abundant at some times of the year, and then basically non-existent or significantly reduced at other times of the year. And energy usage by humans more or less remains constant through that time. So there are times when you've got a surplus and you just don't have anywhere to put it because the grid has insufficient storage in the 2020s, or there are times when you lack the energy, and then in the 2020s you're reaching for immediate fixes like fossil fuels. You're burning coal, you're burning oil, you're burning your cats, whatever's going to get you there. So it would be great if you had an affordable way to store up the extra energy from the peak times of like the river coursing down the hill from the melty bits in the mountains, hypercharging your dam, or the seasonal winds you may have somewhere in your life, like the Santa Ana winds in California, which come on and make us all crazy and happy and weird, and then they go away in other parts of the season. So you capture that energy, and you could lock it in these pretty cheap batteries, move them around on truck beds or whatever, and use them wherever and whenever you need throughout the rest of the year. And the real beauty of this system is that it's quite cheap. So the salt is not expensive to source. You could get it from desalination, for example. If you were pumping water to places that need it, you could keep that brine instead of putting it back in the ocean, which you shouldn't do because it's nasty. And then it's got nickel in it, which is expensive in the early 2020s for dicey reasons. But you could also do iron instead of nickel, and these researchers are looking at that. And you can do aluminum, which is quite cheap, and fiberglass and sulfur, which are also cheap. So you've got like dirt cheap box ingredients for this whole thing, for the most part, that allow you to get somewhere near, they think they can get down from $23 per kilowatt hour to around $6 per kilowatt hour, which would be a lot better than lithium ion batteries. And then the density of this stuff is actually higher than some typical lead or flow batteries. So in the 2120s when I'm from, we have much higher energy density and we have much greater grid storage. So like all the way throughout the power grid on Earth and Mars and the Moon, there's lots of storage built in. In the 2020s, that's not really the case. People have been living sort of hand to mouth in an energy perspective. Like, I get it right now, I use it right now. The power lines are not designed to hold extra power, they just course the power through. When I'm from, we've got little micro batteries all throughout the grid. All the parts of the energy infrastructure can store it, hang on to it, and then deliver it when it's needed. But in the 2020s, that's still some far off technology. However, this molten salt tech is available for license. So if you have a solar farm or a wind farm, or you've got a hydroelectric dam in your backyard, you might want to reach out to these guys at the Northwest Pacific Laboratory and say, can I borrow your molten hockey puck? Because it's a really efficient way to store energy for the rest of the year. Okay, we all get the point. We're all really into salt. We all know desalination is a big part of the next century, and hopefully we can use some of the brine collected from that to build things like molten salt batteries and reactors, which we'll talk about another time. Hope you have an energetic day. See you in the future. Bye.